Hello all you beans, welcome back to another bean view. Have you ever played the Civ games? Don't want to dump 10 plus hours into a game that you end up losing because your friend gets nukes? Oh wait, what's that? You only have 30 minutes and you're not responsible or knowledgeable enough in nuclear technology to be trusted with it? Well, boy do I have a game for you. Seven Wonders Duel. This is it. This is the game. You've probably heard of the original game, Seven Wonders, and I'm not going to go into detail on how Seven Wonders compares to Seven Wonders Duel, because I'm probably going to do a Seven Wonders review on its own in the future. Duel is a spin-off game that borrows the concept of wonders. Yep. All 7 of them. One of the major differences is that this is a 2-player game only. I wouldn't recommend it for date night. Each game only takes about 30 minutes once you know what you're doing. The lore of this game is that you are in charge of a civilization and you are going to lead it through 3 different rounds called ages from here on out. You aim to construct up to 4 wonders on your side. Each card in the game represents a raw resource or a building. There are 3 different ways to win this game, unlike a lot of other 1v1 games. You can win via military prowess or scientific victory, which are immediate, or the civilian victory, which is just neither of those things happen and you complete all 3 ages, and whoever has the most points at the end wins. While having a mechanic that can instantly end the game seems cool, 9 out of 10 games are just going to end with you counting points at the end. One of the big issues I actually have with this game, and I'm going to go ahead and get it out of the way, is that the scientific and the military progress cards just feel more like distractions than they do actual gameplay mechanics. So much so that if you lose via military or science, you want to count up your points anyways because you feel like you've been robbed. To make it seem like a bigger distraction than it actually is, they actually include a whole separate board to count military and scientific progress for this game. It's actually the only board in the game, the rest is played with cards. In fact, let's go over to the piece inspection now. Inside the box you'll find the only board. As I mentioned, this is for covering military progress and scientific developments only. You will also find the different cards that you'll be playing, separated by color to distinguish where they go. 7 guild cards, which frankly I find quite useless since they're just glorified age 3 cards. They did need to be separate. The 12 wonder cards, because apparently there are 12 wonders, not 7. Military tokens, 10 scientific progress tokens, the conflict pawn, the coin bank, the scorebook, the rulebook, and the help sheet. Much like Splendor, I will say that this instruction manual is actually really good at what it does and extremely informative. A lot of instruction manuals have things like player A and player B, or just like named agents and stuff like that, right? This takes it one step further in that it uses names like Antoine and Bruno instead of A and B. Since both are old names, especially with Antoine stemming from Antony, I thought that was really cool. At least I thought so until I realized that that's the name of the creators and that the people in the rulebooks are just self-inserts and not historical references. So the once classics major in me was majorly disappointed when I found this out, but whatever. This is what a normal setup looks like before you can even start the game. The 3 rounds are all laid out here now, but you can set them up 1 round at a time if you don't have the table space for it. I've set it up so that you go from top to bottom in all of these. In case you forget what the layout is, the help card has the information on it. In every age, all but 3 cards are used, just to keep it random enough so that there isn't a guarantee that a specific card shows up. This will be important later on. Okay, the instruction manual covers what I will argue is the most random and excessive use of symbols in any card game I've ever seen. A good example of how meaningless and convoluted it gets is the guild cards. Each card has a distinct effect. The most common is 1 gold piece instantly for each of the corresponding color cards in the city that has the most of that card. The second symbol you see here is 1 victory point for that same exact requirement, but that's calculated at the end of the game, which is more often than not a completely different value. This is really weird, as almost every single card has clarifications, but it seems like they were designed like this at the end of development. It just seems rushed. I genuinely enjoy the idea of having cards that reward you for going for things like raw resources, magistrate buildings, or even, bonus points for constructing wonders, especially if it means you can pick up a card that your opponent wants and it still be just as much worth to you as it would be to them. But this game just integrates it in a very rigid way. So like I said, the instruction manual does a great job at explaining all of these symbols, and any question you may have can definitely be answered in it. There's a whole page dedicated to each Wonder's effects art. The help sheet provided covers a lot of these interactions and symbols as well, kind of like a frequently asked questions for the instruction manual. A FAQ. Because when you look at all these symbols, you'll say, what the FAQ? The back of the instruction manual even has a list of all of the cards listed by type, resource, age, and progression. This game does something absolutely wonderful, and it actually integrates the card progression aspect that I mentioned in the previous Splendor video to this game. So if you pick up this card right here, the altar card in Age 1, it has this little moon symbol on it. In Age 2, there's a temple, which requires raw materials, or you can get it for free if you have the altar, because the symbols match. This carries over into Age 3, where you can upgrade it to a Pantheon, again, either by having the raw resources or the matching cards. Not every card gets pulled in an Age, and your opponent can discard cards from the playing field if they A, don't want it, or B, don't want you to have it. This causes a surprisingly fun mixture of luck on the card pull and recognizing what both you and your opponent have. This isn't one of those passive games where you don't interact with everybody else, kind of like Reef or Ticket to Ride. I actively find myself looking at what the other person has, just so that I know what I'm going to do on my next turn. For a 1v1 game, I feel like this brings a great amount of tension to the table. So this is one of those games, kind of like some of the other reviews, where I've had to play it a lot before I decided that I could make a review of this. Sometimes I hated how the card progression system worked because the cards I picked up never got augmented, or they show up at the wrong spot and then they just get thrown away by the other player, or they'll just never show up in later ages. Sometimes the competitiveness gets a little too toxic and you both just start picking up or discarding cards so that the other person can't steamroll you, or just because you don't want them to have them. I've played some really high and some really low scoring games because of this. Like I said earlier, I wish that military and scientific victories weren't as rare because I like the mechanics. I wish they used a couple more mechanics, but I like it. But sometimes it seems like a distract. Much like I did with Splendor, I'm gonna go into one more game mechanic just to show you how it works, and then what I think could have been done to improve this. Scientific progress tokens and their perks are picked up when you pick up 2 green cards that have matching symbols. This is similar to the card progression I mentioned a little while ago, because it is. It's the exact same mechanic. Anyways, if a player gets to 4 of these, they win. That's it. It's nothing special. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, on to military prowess. Throughout the game, instead of picking up resources, you can pick up these military inventions like a guard tower or an archery range. These advance the conflict pawn towards your side. If it gets all the way to your end, you win by military domination. Again, that's it. Please give me another mechanic. Along the way, depending on your amount of influence, you can make the other player lose a total of 7 coins, which is only a lot during the first age or so, although it does net you permanent victory points at the end. Besides the immediate benefits of the science tokens and military pillaging, they just serve as a distraction from someone picking up resources that they may need. Sometimes you're forced to pick up military prowess just so you don't lose. You could pick up 1 military card per age, or as many as you like, and you can see it really doesn't make that big of a difference. My improvement to these would be add more unique effects on the military scale, and maybe lose some more coins throughout the board for losing military influence. For scientific progress tokens, I would like to change the matching symbol horseshit. You already have card development, and it's done in a much more interesting way. That's just a suggestion that I'm throwing out there, is like if you were to spec into something like glassware, which is its own resource already, you can just collect more, and once you hit a certain amount, you can develop chemistry. Or like 4 papyruses gets you a printing press, which gets you a library, which you can, whatever. It would incentivize picking up resources that you already have, and then you would have to make the decision whether or not you want the scientific progress card or progress from another age card.
Peace. I'm a a genius. It's a masterpiece. Masterpiece time. Here comes the money.
I think the money aspect of this game is a little over-centralized and convoluted. The price of purchasing extra raw resources is based on the amount of that raw resource that your opponent has. You could also spend 3 turns selling cards just to buy 1. I never find myself with the right amount of money. Either I barely have any the entire game, or the majority of the points that I have at the end of the game are entirely from money. Sometimes my potato brain always thinks about the famous quote, "Her voice is full of money." F. Scott Fitzgerald wrote that one. And I think about it a lot when I play this game, because the development relies more on the money aspect than it does the actual raw resources or the development of them. As far as difficulty goes, I'm giving this game a 2. And that's a 2 with an asterisk. If I wasn't constantly looking up what symbols meant, or the clarification text on a specific interaction between a couple of cards, this would easily just be a 2.0 out of 5. But that isn't the case, and this creates a very weird pseudo-learning curve. I don't agree with it. So, when you're first playing the game, I would give it a 2.5 out of 5, but like a lot of board games, once you play it a couple times and find out its true difficulty, you pretty much got it. It's a 2.0 out of 5. So yeah, 2 with an asterisk, because if you were to come back to the game later, you would forget some of the interactions and the difficulty would go back up even though you know how to play the game. So there it is. So here are the categories that I rate games based off of. We have gameplay mechanics, replayability, rules, theme, round duration, and quality compared to price. They're all weighted differently, obviously. But yeah, I want to point out that this game had some very abnormal scores for some categories. For replayability, it was 5 out of 5. I could play this game multiple times in a row. In fact, I actually really enjoy best of 3s for this game. Round duration also got a max score because, you know, what other game is actually that fun and short enough, right? To where you're gonna play a best 2 out of 3 set, or even a best 3 out of 5 set. Theme was also the max score possible. Like I said, I used to be a classics major when I started college, so I'm a huge sucker for this kind of thing. The quality of the pieces is nothing particularly special. They all come laminated, but I have a severe visceral hatred for tiny cards. Please stop making tiny cards. I think they're awful. I understand that they need to be smaller because they would take up way too much space on the table otherwise, but oh my god, abolish small cards. They are dumb and nearly impossible to read. I will say, I do really like the conflict pawn. And while doing research for this video, I actually stumbled upon a Reddit post where someone made their own metal cast conflict pawn for their copy of this game, which is just really fucking cool. It's just like Tech's Azul piece holder that I mentioned in the Azul review. I love it when people make custom shit for their own board games. I think that's amazing. So last review, I covered Splendor, and I mentioned the tiny plastic tray being absolutely horrible. I still stand by that. Since then, I have stumbled upon someone online who's selling 3D printed, custom-made Splendor piece holders, so you can replace the plastic tray in your box with that one. They're currently on sale for like $6 a piece, and I assume they're worth it since nothing is as bad as the Splendor box. Now for the quality of the pieces compared to the price. This game can't be beat. Online, I found it going for $31 to $40. For all these pieces, you know, like a really well-written rulebook and a cheat sheet, as well as being a very niche 1v1 spin-off of one of the most popular board game series of all time, I highly recommend it. Overall, I am giving 7 Wonders Duel a light 8 out of 10. I know I spent a lot of time harping on the worst parts of the game, but those really were the worst parts. I only went over mechanics that I thought needed improvement or changes or were necessary to understanding the gist of the game. Besides those things, I really enjoy it. You know, well enough to play best 3 out of 5 sets, that's for sure. 7 Wonders Duel, fun fact, is the highest rated 7 Wonders game of all time on Board Game Geek. It has been rated overall 16th on the best board game at the time of the recording of this video. And you know, it being a spin-off game that's 5 years old, that's ranked 16th best board game right now, is, you know, It's the best you could ask for. And if you ask me, Seven Wonders is the spin-off of Seven Wonders Duel. This game actually got a lot of traction that the spin-off game of Seven Wonders got a DLC. So, how was it? Did you enjoy the review? What do you think of this extremely popular game? Would you Seven Wonders Duel money match me for the deed to your house? Let me know down below if you think that JFK's full name was John Fortnite Kennedy and that's why the CIA had him assassinated. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next one.